So Proverbs 31, verses 10 to 31. It is, of course, a proverb about the virtuous wife or the virtuous woman. It is. I do not think we should read it simply about a woman. So Proverbs chapter 30, we have the example of Agur, who is the model of a man who fears God. We see in his prayers one who really fleshing out the fear of God. He's fleshing out wisdom. Here we have in her actions, in her life, she also is fleshing out wisdom. She is showing that she is a woman who fears God. And so that we have in this poem, we have a description of this woman, but we would err to say this only applies to women. And there are unique features that in that culture would have only applied to women. But it is the same practice that the Proverbs have been doing throughout of making a specific application of a general principle. And there are an abundance of general principles at work here that we absolutely can and should learn from. And so this is, it's noteworthy as well. Who is the receiver of this instruction about the virtuous woman? Yes, it is King Lemuel. Who is giving him the instruction? His mother. And so this is not addressed to women. Its original audience was to Lemuel. And it's noteworthy that it comes immediately after his mother warns him, do not give your strength to women, nor your ways to that which destroys kings. I think there is a definite connection there that she moves very quickly to now start talking about drunkenness and alcohol. Then she goes back to that and spends these 22 verses describing this virtuous woman. And so it is an idealized woman. So I don't think we should look for a direct connection into any biblical person. And so that some do speculate that, this is a poem about Ruth, not my wife Ruth, but the biblical character Ruth. And there are certainly parts about Ruth's life that fit this, very much so. And she is called a virtuous woman in the book of Ruth. But there are aspects of this that also do not, at least in the biblical record, do not line up with Ruth's life. And so we cannot take this as describing a single, real individual. This is, I think, more of an idealized picture. And I think actually if you're to take this strictly literally and try to do everything she does every single day, you're going to wear yourself out and really just wear yourself down to a frazzle. And there are certainly things and I'll show you as we go through here, there are things in this proverb that she could not do every day. There are things that she could only do maybe once in her lifetime, maybe a couple times, but that was it. So it's not describing that that this woman, that she does this all of the time, and we must be exactly like this. It is, again, a specific application of biblical principles. And so, again, to take it hyper literally, does not mean that every wife should spin her own yarn or make her own clothes. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we can't read this as if it's teaching that. On the other hand, this poem also contradicts the notion that the Bible expects all women to stay in the home and have no business outside the home, that their entire life is to be in the house. Again, as we go through this, we'll see her entire life was not in the house. She was a very active businesswoman, and she is praised greatly because of that. And so the poem starts off by asking a rhetorical question. Who can find a virtuous woman or a virtuous wife? And it's rhetorical in one sense, and it says nobody. This is, and it's a sense of, I would say it's a sense of who can find a 10-carat diamond. I mean, you're not going to walk down the street and just find one. You know, do people find diamonds of that size? Yes, they do, and larger. What's required to do that? Yeah, you have to have a diamond mine. You have to be diligently digging and searching for this treasure. That is what Lemuel's mother is driving at. Is this virtuous woman is incredibly rare, so it's not give up. Don't ever seek for a wife like this. It is search diligently. Go dig her out, if you will. And so what we have is an ode to a wise woman. Proverbs 12 has already said, an excellent wife is the crown of her husband. And when I say this is an ode, it really is the sense of heroic poetry that is offered in praise of this warrior wife who goes out and wars wisely for good gain. This is something a bard would sing of a conquering hero. This is the kind of stuff that you would find in the Odyssey, for example. It is that heroic ode praising her. It's really that the way the proverb, this poem is laid out, it really is a magnificent praise to her. So I'm going to move through this quickly, and I'm not going to do it justice. There's a lot that really would be well worth just digging in, really verse by verse. So I'm just going to give you an overview here. He starts off and tells us her worth. As I've already said, she is rare. That's the intent of the question, to show the rarity of this kind of wisdom in a woman. And again, I say in a woman, don't misunderstand that to think that I'm saying that women aren't wise, that most women are horrible, by no means. And I would say we would say, if we were taken more generally, we say it's rare to find this kind of wisdom in a man, in any person. This is the rarity of this individual who labors in this way. But when she's found, she is priceless. Her worth is far above rubies. She is an absolute treasure in both the literal and metaphorical sense. She is trustworthy. The heart of her husband safely trusts her. And as a result, he lacks no gain. She is profitable for him. In the majority of this poem, it is a financial prosperity that is being discussed. But I think, again, we should recognize it's more than just she's a sharp businesswoman who makes her husband a lot of money. It is that she is, in every respect, profitable for him. She's profitable for his family, for his household, for his character, for his well-being. She is profitable for him in every respect. And she is benevolent. Extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. That there is in her diligent work, she is not stingy, but she is benevolent. So that verse 12, she does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She is good and benevolent to her own husband. And what we're talking about right off the bat is her character. Michael V. Fox said her primary strength is her character, so that what comes in all of the diligent labor comes out of this wise heart, this character that is truly good, trustworthy, kind, and generous for her husband's sake. And that character then is seen in what she does. And that's where we get to verses 13 through 19, is she is industrious in her work. It says she seeks wool and flax, and willingly works with her hands. Verse 15, she also rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household. There is an industry there that she's not at all lazy. She's not sitting on the couch watching soap operas and eating bonbons. She is diligent in her life. And in fact, she delights in this work. She willingly works with her hand. She's not refusing to do this. She's not unwilling to do this. She is willing to do this kind of work. And in doing so, she's diverse in her provision. She's like the merchant ships, which brings her food from afar. Now, I will have to throw this in. It's a little bonus feature, I guess. But I heard one person talking about this proverb, and he said that what the author is getting at is looks don't really matter, because merchant ships were the big, ungainly looking ships. And so that she was like the merchant ship. She wasn't necessarily beautiful, but she brings her food in from afar. That's not the point. I'm not going to, at this point, discuss whether or not looks matter, but that's not the point of this verse. The point of the verse is that like merchant ships, they scatter to distant places and bring stuff back. She's like them in that she's collecting food, bringing stuff in from distant, varied places there, so that she is diverse in her provision for the household. She doesn't rely only on what the estate produces, but she purchases the good things that have been brought in from traders from distant lands, so that it actually adds variety and enjoyment to the household, to the meals. She provides what is necessary, and she also provides what is delightful, what is good. Again, she's not only industrious, she is diligent, so that she is up early in the morning, before the sun comes up, to go to work, to provide for her household. She is faithful with her wealth. Verse 16, she considers a field and buys it. This is one of those things that it's highly unlikely that this was a regular occurrence in her life. In that culture, that most people weren't out buying and selling pieces of property like this. It was for any household, it would be an unusual thing. It certainly is a mark of great wealth that they're able to go and to buy a piece of land, to buy a farm. So this is one of those things that she did maybe once in her life. That's it. She not only is faithful she goes out and she considers this field, by the way. She's not just, I want that. It's not just she buys a field. She considers it. She walks the property. She checks it out. She understands what it's able to produce, what quality it is. She is making a very good decision, following good decision-making practices to buy this field. And then she invests her profit. And so that it says, from her profits, she plants a vineyard. So she buys this field. And again, it's probably a farm field. And so she begins immediately to sow the field, or in this case, probably telling her servants, go plant the field. And from the profits of that field, she saves up enough so that she can plant a vineyard. Because a vineyard required a considerable amount of upfront capital. So you had to, of course, buy the vines. You also had to build the wall. You had to build a watchtower to protect the vineyard. All of those things were necessary before you could actually have a proper vineyard. And so she bought a field that's incredibly profitable. And she first saves those profits and then invests them wisely in something that's going to produce more profit. Again, she's a very sharp businesswoman. She is, verses 17 to 19, she is tireless in her work. So that she girds herself with strength and strengthens her arms. It's actually verse 17 in the Hebrew is I think even more vivid. She wraps strength around her hips, and she also gives strength to her arms. So she is being portrayed as a very strong woman, who is able to do the work that she needs to do. She is the one who spins yarn. She holds the distaff and the spindle. I had to look this up a couple times. So, do anybody know what a distaff is? What I gathered is it was basically what you held that you would put the various materials on that you were spinning into string. And so you would wrap it around that, and then they would take a weight or a spindle and would spin that and let it drop, and they would spread out the line or let out the various materials while this is spinning. That's twisting the yarn, the materials up into an actual usable thread. And so it's those. The distaff is that thing that you're wrapping all the material around, and the spindle is that which is twisting it into a thread. And so she has servants. I mean, she's able to buy a field. She has servants. It's already told us she provides for her maidservants. She has people who can do this for her, and she doesn't have to do this, but she does. That's the point. She is tireless in her work. She perceives that her merchandise is good, and her lamp does not go out by night. Again, it seems to be a consequence. She sees that what she's producing is good, and so because it's a good and desirable thing, she is diligent so that she stays up late, working and spinning. And again, it tells us she rises up early to provide for the household. Again, I don't know that she does this every single night. I don't want to suggest that. I don't think that's what it is saying, but rather that this is her habit. It was not unusual to see her up late at night. And it was not unusual to see her up early in the morning working. And she is skillful in that work, which we're going to see more of that again in a few verses. But she is very skillful. She knows what she's doing is good work. And I said earlier that this is an acrostic poem, A, B, C, D, all the way down. It's also a chiastic poem. So that chiasm, you remember you start on the outer edges and you work down to the middle, and then it repeats in reverse order. So A, B, C, D, C, B, A. Verses 19 and 20 are the middle. They're the fulcrum or the pivot of this chiasm. And so she stretches out her hand to the distaff. Her hands hold the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor. Yes, she reaches out her hands to the needy. So looking at those four lines, what do you see that those four lines have in common with one another? Yeah, very specifically, her hands. And more specifically, the first line, is that word singular or plural? Yeah, hands is plural. The second line of verse 19, singular or plural? Yeah, the singular, single hand. Verse 20, first line, singular or plural? Singular. Verse 20, second line, singular or plural? It is plural. So you see, again, that just in those four verses, that little bit of a chiasm. Hands, hands, hand, hand. And it's making it really, really clear that this is the center of this passage, so that what we find is this virtuous woman holds in her hands industry and charity. That is really what it's describing here. And now it moves outward. So it's been mostly, in her own private dealings, with the house and with the servants and with her own business transactions. Now it's moving outward. So we see that she is generous to the poor. So that her private worth is just the great profit she brings to her husband and the household. Her public worth, it starts with a great generosity. She is also well prepared. Verse 21, she's not afraid of snow for her household, for all of her household is clothed with scarlet. Scarlet would have been one of the more valuable clothing. And so she is not worried about when it gets cold, which in this culture it didn't happen much. But she is so well prepared that she has warm clothing and sufficient clothing for her household. And notice it doesn't say for her children, for all her children are clothed in scarlet. Her household. That includes the servants. That it's anybody that would have been within that house is very well clothed, so that when the colds come, that they're not afraid of that. They don't have to be, because she doesn't have to be. She is well prepared. She also is well dressed. She is not, verse 22, she makes tapestry for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. It says tapestry there. I don't think we should read that. At least I think tapestries, I think of the things you hang on walls. You go back to Proverbs 7, I believe it is, the immoral woman that seduces a young man. One of the things she tells him, besides my husband is not home, she tells him, my bed is covered in tapestries. She's not taken the hangings and decorations off of the wall and strewn them all over the bed. It's that she has it really is very nice, beautiful bedclothes. We would say a quilt or coverings of some, I don't even remember, to me they're all sheets. So whatever the various high quality coverings of your bed is, that's what it is talking about, that she has a warm bed. Her servants have warm beds. And her clothing itself is fine linen, and it is purple. Again, this is the high-quality products that she has. These are the expensive products that she has been able to purchase. It's a luxury item that is being described here. She is industrious. Again, verse 23, she is well respected. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. So it's tying to her respect, that her husband is well known because she is respected. He sits in the gates where the leaders of the community sit, where the decisions were being made, where judgments are being made, and her husband was known because of her, because she was that well respected. And she is, as I started to say, she is industrious. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies sashes for the merchants. So it's not only that she is buying a field and clothing her family, now she is so industrious that she has made a surplus, and she's able to sell. In fact, she's making these, and so that sashes for the merchants can take them off to distant lands and can sell them. So that she is making things that are being exported. She's not only importing goods for her household, she's exporting goods from her household that are increasing the wealth of it. Verse 25, she's just simply ready for whatever it may be. Strength and honor are her clothing. She shall rejoice in time to come. Whatever comes, she is prepared for. She is ready for that. And it's not just she has luxuries. If this was simply a rich woman, and this is simply a rich businesswoman who made good business decisions, she still would not be worthy of this kind of praise. But she has strength and honor. They're the characteristics that are popping up throughout this, that she is a godly, wise woman that is deserving of respect. And so it's not just she is ready for whatever financial challenges may come. She is ready, I would say physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, for whatever it may be, because of her great wisdom. And in fact, it tells us she opens her mouth with wisdom, and on her tongue is the law of kindness. I have simplified this as well spoken, but that doesn't begin to say what is said here. When she speaks, what it comes out is wisdom. We go back to Proverbs 1 through 9. And you hear some of the speeches of Lady Wisdom. And I think this is intended to at least echo that when she begins to speak, we are hearing the voice of Lady Wisdom in the first 9 chapters. I don't think that the Proverbs 31 woman is a personification of Lady Wisdom. That's one idea of how to understand this chapter. I don't think it is that. But certainly she is wisdom embodied. She is being wise, and not only wise, but great kindness, so that when she speaks her wisdom, it is not harsh, it is not domineering, it is kind and gracious wisdom. It is wisdom that is desirable. I mean, this is Lady Wisdom saying, "Come to my feast. I have prepared all of the good things for you. Come and learn wisdom of me." And this wise woman, this virtuous woman, is doing something similar. She's speaking wisdom, but it's palatable and desirable, at least as much as it can be to the simple. And we know that the fool and the scorner are going to reject wisdom no matter what, no matter how kind and nice it is. But to the ones who are able to receive it, it is a gracious invitation. Also in verse 27, she is a good manager. She watches over the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. She's a good overseer of the house. She is taking care, making sure everything is taken care of. And again, she's not just sitting there on the couch, just barking orders. And, as soon as anybody's out of her sight, they go and do whatever they want to do. She is a careful manager of the entire household, so that she is one that's going to make sure things are done properly. She is one who herself is diligent in working. As a result, she receives a great public reward. Her children rise up and call her blessed. She is praised by her children. What a great reward. I mean, really, you think about it, you've raised, those of you that have raised kids, and they get to be adulthood. And, to hear their praise, their appreciation for the wisdom and the care with which you raised them. And the virtuous woman, she receives that, not only from her children, but also from her husband. So that he also calls her blessed and praises her. So this part of that building, he's adding too. The children call her blessed, the husband calls her blessed and praises her. And his praise for her is really very specific. There are many, many that have done well, but you are better than all of them. You excel them all. So there is no woman like her, that their husband recognizes her incredible wealth, profitability, virtue, wisdom, kindness. She is the priceless treasure to him. And then we have her worthy reward. As it moves out, be more general here. So we've been talking very specifically about her, and now we move to just a woman who fears the Lord. It starts off, and we see that charm is deceitful and beauty is passing. Michael Fox again said that appearances are untrustworthy and a vapor. So there is a realization here that the beauty that anyone possesses, it does not last. There is not enough plastic surgery and Botox to maintain it. It happens to everyone that the youthful beauty it fades away. It passes. But she receives instead an unfading praise. That's really, I think, one of the implications of this. It's one our culture needs to hear a lot. Is instead of investing so much effort, so much time and money into maintaining looks. Invest effort into the wisdom that comes from the fear of God. And he goes on and says here that this is a earned reward. Give her the fruit of her hands. She's done this. Let her own works praise her. It's something that she has worked for and is deserving of, rightfully deserving her of. And it is a public honor. Praise her in the gates. Again, remember, where the prestigious leaders of the community sat. This is where the respectable people were. This is where the community gathered to hear important things. There, let her be praised in public so that she is receiving the praise that she has earned. Michael Fox said, she is not just an ideal woman, she is an ideal person. So if we were to take these 22 verses of this poem and were to compare it to the Proverbs found in Proverbs 10 through 30, we would find that the wise man, as Proverbs is written to the son and said, do this. This is the actions of a wise man. You'll find that his actions are identical in character to what she does and to who she is. So he may not spin thread, but he will be diligent and industrious. He will not be lazy. He will be up late and up early to do the work that needs to be done. He will be thoughtful and careful and making purchases and then investing the profits into future profits. There will be this similar kind of care in his work. There will be the wisdom on his tongue. There will be those words of life, those words that fitly spoken, that are like apples of gold and frames of silver. That's what, it's not just, this is for women. He doesn't end the book by saying, to be wise, go find this woman. This book ends by saying, this is wisdom. Male or female, this is wisdom. And it applies to all of your life, to all of your dealings, to all of your interactions, whether it be in the house or in the community. All of these principles apply. And Proverbs 31 just shows us one glorious place that they apply. So let me apply a few things here from this. First, wisdom is not found in abstract ideas, but in practical living. And this is one of the most important truths from Proverbs. As we think about thinking deeply about wisdom and thinking deeply about life, we're not dealing merely with theories. We're not sitting in a nice little laboratory spinning speculations about what may be the best way to live. We're dealing with daily life. So we're not sitting in a jail cell penning Mein Kampf and then hoping to maybe be able to flesh it out someday. This is wisdom put to work immediately. It's practical. It's not simply in thinking deep thoughts, but in living right lives. Wisdom is not found in deep thoughts, but in reverential living. What is the beginning of wisdom? The fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. It starts in living a godly life, in living for God. And those are foundational. As we think about everything else that wisdom does, it starts with recognizing it's not merely thoughts, it is daily life. It is daily life lived for God. From that point, we then say, be diligent. I mean, it's just that simple. Be diligent. Be diligent about the work that is given, whatever it may be that you are obligated to do. Be diligent about it. Be compassionate. So that as you are learning wisdom and communicating that wisdom to others, as you're being diligent and industrious, we're being compassionate, that there is kindness always on our tongues. be industrious, so that we are not just diligent in something. You can be diligent in playing a video game, but being industrious, diligent in accomplishing that which is worthwhile, of production, if you will, of producing something that is good, that is valuable, desirable, beneficial. Be faithful. Be faithful to the Lord. Be faithful to your commitments, to your relationships. Be faithful. Be foresighted. We all know snow's coming. So time to start sowing your scarlet. We do right, wisely prepare. We know what's coming. We, at least in general sense, we know what's coming. And so we make good preparations for the future. Simply put, be wise and fear the Lord. The person who fears the Lord will have wisdom. What we see in Proverbs is it begins and ends with the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And a woman who fears the Lord, she will be praised. Fear of the Lord is wisdom. So if we're going to do anything, and thinking about all that we have said over the last, 14 months, fear the Lord.